Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I should see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today. Excuse me. Where today we'll be talking about the other... Actually, there's actually, I suppose, two other conversations I could be having from yesterday. You know, I can't believe yesterday I was all about, like, oh, you know, I don't know how to stretch out this conversation to about 20 minutes. Like, come on, Dear Darling, that's literally what you've been doing for, like, the past 4 years now? Almost 5 years. I actually cannot believe how quickly, like, year 5 has sort of, like, snuck up on me. Like, I had no idea until it was just I was just setting like one of the titles. I think it was on like Saturday or something, and I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, it's like 7 days until the year's finished. So I was like, okay, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 11:41 p.m. on Monday, March 18th, 2024. I was meant to talk about it more, I suppose, at the beginning of an episode in the previous ones, but I literally just forgot in every single other previous one. So if you didn't catch it on the end of last episode, I'll just be like, don't be surprised if a thumbnail art is delayed, because I started it about 3 days ago. When normally I start it like a couple of weeks in advance. I legitimately had no idea how soon it was creeping up on me. Which is pretty crazy, because I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe I should start it in like January or something. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. And let me get the other thumbnail arts done first. And then like it's crawled down to almost the anniversary. And I'm just like, whoops. I don't think it will be delayed by too much, you know, fingers crossed and everything, because this one actually has like a very simple background compared to every single other one. You'll see if I'm not like taking the thumbnail arts in like a completely different direction or something, but this one has a much more simplistic feel, I think, to it. But I think it should still look good, hopefully. Because not all of them needs to be a fully rendered scene and that sort of thing. I mean, this one's still like a scene, but like it's just more like the choice of a scene doesn't like make sense to have like a super detailed background in. I guess is probably how I don't know, you'll see it when you see it. It should be a fun one, you know. I have it on my drawing tablet, which I have closed for a moment. I don't know if I have too much time to actually draw this week, but I might try for like an hour or so to do, because currently I'm at the stages where it's actually the easy stages, which is like the sketching things. So I've got like the rough sketches down, like I blocked it all out, and now I've got like the rough sketches of where everyone's going to be. It's an interesting one, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure how well it's going to translate, but I think it'll be a fun one at the very least. I'm looking at his hand. His hand just makes no sense. Why have I drawn it like that? I don't know. I need to actually find like a reference. Did I do this without a reference? I must have done this without a reference, because I'm looking at my hand and I was like, that looks terrible. That's fine. It'll be like a split second probably in the actual recording itself. But yes, as you can probably tell by today's episode title, I'm going to be talking about like a vegan food thing, which I briefly mentioned yesterday. But if you missed it, TLDR, on Sunday, met up with a couple of friends, and we had like nice meals and that sort of thing. We spent like fun times together. But they're both vegan. So I don't know who initially suggested it or something, but we decided to go to like a vegan restaurant for both lunch and dinner. Because I must imagine that if you're vegan or vegetarian, you know, and unless all your other friends are also vegan and vegetarian, it probably sucks, you know, going to a restaurant a lot of times. I mean, of course, you know, there are restaurants, especially increasingly nowadays, which actually have like decent vegetarian and vegan like choices or options. But certainly back in the day, at least, you know, I get a certain vibe. It was like, oh, you go to like a restaurant, like every single thing has like a meat or animal product in it, and then you get like one vegetarian option. You know, there probably isn't even a vegan option on the menu or something. Same with like gluten-free options, etc., etc. It's just like there is just no option, because, you know, it's kind of made for the average person, and I guess the average person doesn't have an intolerance or doesn't have a dietary restriction, which of course is, you know, not great. You know, we shouldn't be catering to just. I mean, obviously, you know, you can't cater for literally every situation out there, but, you know, a lot of restaurants do specialist things where it's like, oh, if you just tell them not to do this, they'll like not use it, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, what I mean is the fact that menu options used to be, I feel like, a lot more restrictive when it came to dietary requirements. Like, I cannot remember what restaurant it was, but like there was one restaurant I went to when I was much younger, and I remember thinking at the time, like none of my friends were well, actually no, I did have vegetarian friends, but, you know, like they weren't there, I suppose, at this outing or for whatever reason. I think it might have been like at a pizza, like a local pizza like restaurant, which by the way I think is shut down now, or something. And I was just like looking at the options, and it was like you only have like one choice if you're vegetarian, and that is literally like the cheese pizza or something, margarita pizza, which is like fine. Don't get me wrong, margarita's like not a bad pizza or anything like that, but it's just like it must kind of suck though, you know. There's a lot of actually like genuinely good like vegetarian dishes out there and that sort of thing, you know, like even like just taking pizza as an example, like you don't have to have just like vegetarian pizza, and like I mean even just adding something as basic as like mushrooms on could make a really good pizza. But there are like a load of good options out there, and you know it must kind of suck to have to go to a restaurant, you know. Obviously most restaurants not necessarily being specific, not if they're not specifically vegetarian or vegan restaurants, and be like, oh, you know, joy, I have the option of like 2 different, maybe 3 if I'm very lucky, vegetarian dishes or something, and one of them is just like literally just like a leafy salad, and it's like, well, you know, I don't have anything against salads. I can't imagine you want to eat a salad for like every single meal, you know. Sometimes you want to eat something a bit more fancy, I'd imagine. Anyway, I feel like certainly nowadays things are changing. Although, you know, I'm not vegetarian or vegan, so perhaps that's not really my place to say. But anyway, the long and short of it is we went to 2 vegan restaurants. Well, we're here for one for lunch, one for dinner, and they were both actually surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly good, because I expected them both to be good. I've said before, like I could very much see myself being vegetarian in the future, but I'm not, I suppose. I would say I don't have I don't know, like not in the cards right now. That sounds like a weird way to phrase it, because it's not like it's something which is like ordained by destiny for me to become vegetarian or vegan. I can just see it possibly happening in the future, that sort of thing. I just like tend to not eat a huge amount of meat, really. Anyways, you know, I'm known to sprinkle a vegetarian option on the menu sometimes, because I'm just like, sometimes, you know, I'm gonna be honest, they're kind of good. I forgot what I was thinking of this, but anyway, we went to 2 vegan restaurants, and they were like surprisingly. The thing that surprised me about them is like how convincingly they tasted like meat, I suppose. Because there's always, in recent years, I suppose, there's been like a sort of like uptick on having restaurants or food establishments create like a faux vegetarian, faux meat, fake meat, I suppose, meal or something like that. Especially when I was younger, like the only one that I really knew about, I suppose, was like corn, spelled with a Quorn. And I actually really liked corn when I was younger, which might sound strange to say. Like corn, I actually absolutely loved corn sausages for some reason. Despite the fact, as I said, not vegetarian or vegan. But I still really like eating them because they were like an option for some reason in the lunch menu. I don't, like, in retrospect, I don't know why I chose them, because they were probably, you know, for the actual vegetarian kids and that sort of thing. But they make excess, and then, you know, like whatever, you can choose like whatever you want, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, like it's crazy how like far it's come, I suppose. Because I remember, I can't remember how long ago. Maybe it was like 2-3 years ago or something. I had, I've had like fake meat options in other places. Like I've bought like fake meat burgers. I would say the fake meat, like, I can't remember what brand it is, like the home ones. The fake meat like beef burgers, I would say like taste kind of like, something about the taste is just straight up off, and the texture of course doesn't actually feel like meat. But the fake meat chicken burgers, I'd say actually look like pretty good, to be honest. I guess maybe chicken is a bit more of an easier meat to recreate, I suppose, through other products, or maybe that's just how the faster technology, food technology had evolved for it. But I remember at McDonald's I ordered the vegetarian, the fake chicken burger or something once, and I was like, at that time I was like, the taste is actually pretty close to what I would think chicken would be like. The thing is the texture is just completely wrong. It doesn't like break apart like meat would. It sort of like crumbles apart rather than like tearing, I guess. As I put, like, meat is like inherently quite like a fibrous thing, because I guess muscle fibers are fibrous, since it's got like stringy and strandy. But I remember that chicken burger, it just like sort of disintegrated like when you ate into it. It's more like a not mashed potato consistency, but that sort of like, it was like a pasty-esque consistency, and I was just like, this is like completely wrong texture, but weirdly like the right taste. So it was like a weird sort of discrepancy in my head. But it was crazy. Like we went to these two restaurants. One of them was like a Mexican restaurant, which is like tacos, burritos. I had like an empanada, and like one of my friends ordered like a load of nachos. And I was like, this is like straight up. If you did not tell me it was not meat, I would straight up assume it was meat. it was like pretty good. I'd say something like at least the chicken ones I had, like the empanadas. I mean, the empanadas I ate are very much like, I think they had like fake chorizo in them. I would say I probably would have just guessed that they would have actually just been straight up vegetarian empanadas, but like not because I'd be like, oh, there's fake meat in there, but more like I'd be like, I didn't even realize there was meat in there in the first place. But I also had a chicken taco. The chicken taco was like deceptively, like I'd be like straight up, I would not be able to tell that was not meat. Again, I don't have a most refined palate, and it's not like I spend all the time really overanalyzing my food. I suppose when I eat it, most of the time I just sort of eat it and be like, oh, I like this more than that, or oh, that's okay. Most of my reactions to food tend to be reasonably mild. Not, and you know, actually, it was the point my friend brought up when we were discussing like how much we like food and that sort of thing. And then he was like, I think you like food probably more than you give yourself credit for, which I think there's probably truth to that. I think probably the way I'd phrase it more is that, like, yes, I have opinions on food. Like, if you gave me two foods to compare, I would have probably a preference for one over the other. But it's just more like the comparison of food to like almost anything else. Then food sort of like falls by the wayside, like quite a lot. Like an example I always use is like, would you rather go to a fancy restaurant or would you rather go see like a good show? And I'd be like, I'd rather see a good show. And you'd be like, well, would you rather see a mid show or go to a fancy restaurant? And I'd be like, and if I would be like, if it's a fancy restaurant thing which I've never experienced before, I would choose a fancy restaurant. But if it's something that I've done before, like a fancy restaurant I've been to before, then I would go to the mid show probably. It's basically just like food does not take a huge priority in my life and that sort of thing, but food within itself, like as a category, still has relations between each other, you know. But that's kind of what I mean when I say I'm not that interested in that food. It's not like I have no opinions on food. It's not like food literally tastes the same to me or anything like that. Or I'm just like, if you gave me like a grey sludge, or if you gave me like, I don't know, like a really good lasagna or something, and be like, which would you like rather eat for dinner? I'd be like, I guess I'd eat a lasagna. Like, I prefer lasagna over grey sludge. But if it was just like, oh, the rest of your life you're going to eat this grey sludge and it's going to give you the rest of the nutrients that you want, I'd be like, okay, fine. I can live with that. What other people I think it would very much drive them insane. Anyway, sorry, tangent. So yeah, like I had a chicken taco, and it was actually pretty good. Like a friend had I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was like barbecue beef or something. Another one. That one I think I would be able to tell it was not meat, or at least I'd bite into it and be like, this meat is like strange. Not that it tasted like really good. Like I would say they all tasted really good. Is the most important part, I think. But it's sort of like something about it is just like not quite like right to me. But the chicken one was like indistinguishable, I would say. But I think the important part probably is kind of a taste, and to a lesser extent the texture, depending on how much that means to you, like the experience of eating the food in the first place. I mean, I said it before, like I was like, I don't think vegetarian food or vegan food should necessarily try and emulate meat products like exactly and be like, oh, this is like a meat version of a hamburger, or like a meat version of I don't know, I was going to say steak tartare for some reason. That's my second meat product I can think of. Like first hamburger, second steak tartare. Because like, in my opinion, I was like, you should just sort of like carve your own niche. Like sometimes it works, like corn sausages I think work really well, but I'm like, but then you can like make your own dishes. Like, you know, you can make like mapo tofu, I suppose. You might be like, mapo tofu has beef mince or whatever, and I was like, yeah, but it doesn't have to have it, and it's still like pretty good on its own, and like it stands within its own regards. Basically, like the dish should stand on its own regards without trying to emulate something necessarily which had meat before. But I understand the market for it as well. You know, some people find it more difficult, I suppose, to transition from a meat diet to a non-meat diet, and you know, that probably sort of like bridges the gap. And I've often been of the mind that when food becomes indistinguishable, you know, like a non-meat product as a meat product, and I will, as long as it's not like bank-breakingly expensive or anything like that, yeah, I'd buy a non-meat product. You know, why not? I guess the why not would be like if it took like a huge amount of like, millions of greenhouse gases, I suppose, into the air just to create it. But you know, it'd be pretty hard to like, for food to, you know, be more greenhouse gas producing than a cow is, isn't it? Like cows are like one of the biggest emitters. There's so many tarantulas now, or like methane, I suppose, emitters of like ever or something, or beef industry in general. I can't remember the exact figures or something like that. Anyway, very deceptive, like crazily good. So that was the first one. And then the other one we went to was like a Chinese restaurant. So specifically, actually, it was a Sichuan restaurant, which I didn't realize the entire thing was Sichuan restaurant themed because I didn't actually look up the menu. I'm going to be honest. But Sichuan is a province which I'm reasonably familiar with, because one of my parents was like born there. Sorry, I've got my throat. And it's very much known for its spicy food, and like the most popular dish from Sichuan, I don't know, probably your mileage may vary. I'm not like an expert in Chinese food or anything like that, but mapo tofu is probably like one of the most famous dishes, I think, from Sichuan. But no, I genuinely didn't actually realise until like for one, I looked at the menu, and two, I spoke to my parents about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's also a Sichuan dish." And I was like, "Oh, I had no idea that was actually a Sichuan dish." But that one is actually really, really good, because veganism, vegetarianism, at least in China, and I think in a lot of East Asia, is not incredibly common in the first place. Like so many Chinese dishes, but there's actually a lot of Chinese dishes which are just like vegetables and that sort of thing, but they will often use like meat byproducts in it. Like maybe we'll use like some meat fat to like render it or cook it, or like fish oil, as a friend said. And you know, similar things go to Japanese food. Like you can find like, if you're a pescatarian, it's actually very easy to be in Japan because there's a lot of fish dishes, a lot of seafood dishes, quite common. If you don't want to eat meat, that's totally fair. And for Korean food, I'm not like really an expert in Korean food, but like most of the Korean food I know tends to be, unless you want to live off like carbohydrates and starchy things, and it's kind of like meat is a big part of the food cultures. So it's kind of like difficult, I suppose, to find a vegan or vegetarian restaurant for like Chinese food. And I'm not going to say necessarily for Japanese Korean because I don't know, but I also don't really know much about Chinese restaurants. I don't really go out to actually eat Chinese food all that often, which might be surprising. But this was actually like really good. Like, so it had a good mix of dishes which stood on their own as non-meat options, and things which also replicated meat options really well. Like we had mapo tofu without meat. That was like my second favorite dish. We had silken tofu. I can't remember what it was called in Chinese necessarily. And to forgive me, but that was like my favorite dish. It was delicious, and like those are both dishes which weren't trying to emulate like a meat dish. They were just like standing alone with tofu, because I actually like tofu, you know, hot take. And a lot of them were basically just like tofu dishes, but there were some which were like emulating a meat dish or like a non-vegetarian or vegan product. Like one of them was twice cooked fish, which the Chinese name was hui guo. No, hui gua, no, hui something, you. Which I talked to my parents about. They were like, "Oh, I've never heard that done for fish. It's normally done for meat, whereas basically like you boil the meat and then you cook the meat. Hence it's twice cooked. But like in the Chinese translation, it literally means like return to the pan, I suppose. Meat. But like we had it as a fish thing, and I was like, this tastes like fish, and it has a decent texture for fish. I will say it because it's sort of like a not battered, but it's sort of like a not deep fried, but like pan fried, I suppose, sort of fish. I guess it's got more leniency and like what the texture is like with fish. It's like easy to disguise it, but it's really good. Like you put it in a bao bao, and we had like this vegan mayo. I can't remember what else was in it. Like I don't know the way to describe it, and it was like really good. What else did we have? We had chongqing chicken, which is like really spicy chicken. Obviously fake chicken, that was delicious as well. As I often say, like the fake chicken is actually like pretty decently close to actual chicken, I think. What else did we have? We had like this mushroom starter dish. That one I thought was okay. You know, I was like, I kind of liked it, but then more I ate of it, I was like, it's meh. It's alright. I think maybe because it was the first thing I had, so I was like, this is pretty good. And then I had like the rest of it, and I was like, okay, it kind of pales in comparison to the other ones. It basically just kind of tastes like lao gan ma. It's like a Chinese, like, a famous dish sort of, chili spice sort of thing. Okay, maybe not exactly like lao gan ma, but like one of those sort of like chili things. Specifically like the chili oil one with peanuts. At least that's what it reminded me of. So that one was okay. I don't know if I took a picture of the rest of the things. I'm trying to think what else we had. We had like a kimchi pot thing. That was alright, I would say. We had something called Mao Guo or something. It was called like instant hot pot, which is apparently that one I didn't know was a Sichuan thing. That one I think I said was the worst one, and not because it was bad, but it was just like alright. It was fine. It had like loads of shrew. It had like I forgot what it's called. The black fungus, and oh my god, what is it called? Black Chinese fungus food. Wood ear mushrooms. No, what's his Chinese name? What's his Chinese name? That's the important name. Black fungus Chinese name. It's got like Ur or something. Hey, Moor. Oh, Moor. That's it. Duh. Woody. So that one was like, okay, it was just like not as interesting. We had dim sum as well, dancing. That was actually like surprisingly good for vegetarian ones. But we had like xiaolong bao, which was pretty good. Like that translated actually to a vegetarian version very well. There was like some other vegetarian dumplings, which there was like a regular vegetable one, a mushroom one, and I can't remember, it was spicy and something else in it. That was pretty good. We had some like pan-fried tofu, which was also pretty good. I forgot what sauce it was in, like black bean sauce or something. I don't remember what else it was. I'm trying to think. Did I take a picture of the other stuff? I did not take a final picture of everything. Maybe one of my friends uploaded a picture of everything. But I'm just trying to think. It was actually just like, I was just genuinely surprised how good it was. Oh, we had some wontons. I suppose it's a Chinese name, wonton. Yeah, I don't know. The standout for me was definitely the silken tofu and the mapo tofu. Oh, I could just look at a receipt. This is such a blurry receipt. It's so difficult to read this. Mai Tai. Vegetarian mapo tofu. Fish fragrant aubergines. That was pretty good. This was another one, which apparently is also a Sichuan dish, which my mother told me. Yu xiang qie zi, which means like fish tasting. Yeah, I mean that's literally fish fragrant aubergines, I guess. The fragrance of fish aubergines. I would say they were surprisingly sweet, but I quite liked it. Padron peppers, I would say maybe padron peppers is the worst part. I'm not like crazy for padron peppers, but like I don't know. I don't really associate that as much of like it's more like a side dish rather than much of a meal dish, that sort of thing. Anyway, I ended up taking we ordered way too much food for 5 of us, by the way. But I don't blame us because we kind of just like wanted to try like whatever we could. To be perfectly honest, it's not like we it's not like we're just like, nah, we're gonna go out to this restaurant which is not close to us, or while our friends are visiting, and just be like, oh, we'll have a very modest food. Let's leave hungry. Nah, we left absolutely stuffed, and we brought the leftovers. Well, we brought the leftovers home. I brought all the leftovers home because I ended up with them. I ate some more of it today. I had the rest of the mapo tofu and the aubergines. Delicious. What can I say? So I still got the peppers, and I still got something else left. I think the kimchi one, which is fine. Probably shouldn't have eaten the ones I liked best first, but whatever. I think it was all pretty good. Anyway, so that's the long and short of it. It was like I was surprised at how good it was. Not that I didn't expect it to be good, but more like how close it was, I suppose, to like the meat equivalent of those dishes, or like how much I enjoyed it on its own regard. Like I would absolutely go to our Mexican restaurant again if I was just like, oh, let's just get like a snacky, like a snack sort of thing. Would I go to a Chinese restaurant again? Yeah, probably. The thing with a Chinese restaurant is that one was like really far away. It was like really awkward to get to, for me personally. But yeah, they're both chains. They've got a few locations around London. Anyway, I'm gonna have this episode of here in like 24 minutes about this. It was a good time. So anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.